Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Kislev led by Tim the Wilder, facing off against the Vampire Counts, who shall be helmed by Berserk, here on the Lustrian Narrows. And certainly rare to see Kislev in action. They are banned in a lot of SFTs, but I believe this was a sweaty best-of-3 tournament. So hey, Kislev is allowed, and let's see if they can take down the Vampire Counts. Now for the build here of Tim the Wilder, it's going to be a pretty hybrid infantry build. We do have the Kislevite Warriors, which of course, I mean, just the most haggard infantry that Kislev have are super good. These bad boys have 38 melee defense, anti-large, armor piercing, tons of HP. They're basically unbreakable. It's a really good deal. So you slap those guys in the front line, and they will certainly hold. Now, aside from that, we do have some armored Kossars backed up by Kossars with spears. So a lot of firepower coming in from both the bows as well as the handguns. Very good for focusing mortis engines, cryptors, all that sort of stuff. So he's really looking to just go wide, get a lot of arrow fire in there, and just use that unbreakable front line to outgrind the Vampire Counts with a little bit of fire support. Now, on top of that, there's going to be some mobility. We do have the Horse Archers, and Vampire Counts, you know, they can contest this by chasing them with like hounds and things like that, or fellbats. But at the end of the day, you could just call in Kossovite Dervishes, Winged Lancers, Griffin Legion, and you know these Horse Archers are going to be fine and very easy to protect most likely. And yeah, great for grabbing the objectives out of the gates and can put some decent poke on your opponent. But it looks like Berserk isn't going to let him get the objectives for free, coming in with Dire Pack as well as some Black Knights. So he's going to be trying to contest that point. More Horse Archers, and I believe it's a Tempest Caster. Yeah, probably just going to be rocking. Oh, I was going to say Blizzard, but oh, look at that. It's going to be a Frostworm sorcerer here. Yeah, Ice Switch on the Frostworm, and it is going to be using the Hawks of Miska, which against Vampire Counts, I mean, for clearing zombies and skeletons, this is quite good. It discourages leadership too by -16, and you know, skeletons and zombies are really low leadership, so that's probably going to get them to crumble very quickly and give you a lot of extra damage from that. So it's kind of a cool tech by Tim. Now, on the other side, it is going to be the Great Berserk, mighty champion here. He's got Dire Pack as well as Black Knights, and his front line is going to be zombies and skeletons with double White King and, yeah, mostly chaff-centric, super wide with Cryptors being the main armor piercing. The Corpse Cart's going to be on the Holy Lodestone, so pretty standard stuff there, and it is going to be a Master Necromancer, who's all the hotness these days for Vampire Count players. He does get a free Raised Dead, so you notice how he does have two down here. He has the standard Raised Dead as well as lesser Raised Dead, so I guess for like spamming on top of bow and gun lines, that is kind of helpful, right? So Berserk could be grabbing one objective out of the gates as Tim the Wilder moves up with his mighty Muscle Slav Legion. So they're going to be heading on over, but the Black Knights as well as the Dire Pack do get to nibble on that point. And the rest of the zombie army is going to be moving and grooving, getting ready to try and take objective 2 here from the Kislevites. And we do see the Ice Witch thinking about moving in there. I mean, she'd be pretty good against these Black Knights, and these the Hounds would be a little bit precarious. But yeah, the Ice Witch, I guess, is an anti-large fighter on that Frostworm. You rarely see these things. I mean, Kislev isn't played super often, at least because SFTs are probably the most popular format. Best of 3 tournaments are usually more reserved for like sweatier tournaments and grand finals and things like that. SFT is definitely a little bit more user-friendly for beginners. That's why you see them more often. You know, it's more accessible for most folks who might only know how to play 1 or 2 factions, but that's one of the reasons why you almost never see Kislev, is because in an SFT situation, they're very unbalanced. Whereas in this situation, Berserk got to do a pick 3 system against him, a pick and a ban, and he ended up in this matchup, you know, by his own volition here. So here we have the Horse Archers shooting into the Dire Pack. Dire Pack going to be trying to push him off the objective. A little bit of harrying right here. And now we see the Hex Ray. So all these spooky ghost units have been making a bit of a comeback lately. Kislev does have some magic damage. The Ice Witch itself doesn't do magic damage on the Frostworm, but Hawks of Miska, I guess it could be okay. Berserk has crazy good micro, though. His micro is pretty nuts. And Tim is going to be pulling back, being very cautious, calling in more Kislevite Warriors, and he is going to be yielding the objectives to the Vampire Counts here. And it looks like he, I think, still has the far side point. Berserk going to be calling in a Cryptical to grab that, which is very smart. Cryptical is extra sneaky. You can see they're hidden right now. So they're going to get that objective before Tim can really react, maybe with some Winged Lancers or something else that you might otherwise see. So shooting going into the Black Knights. They do only have bronze shields, not silver shielded, so that missile fire is going to be somewhat effective against them. Not insane, because they're not armor-piercing missiles, they're just Kossars. And the 2 White Kings moving up. Now you might think, oh, White King Scab's Graith isn't good against armor. Well, Kislev does have a ton of light armor on their infantry. Armored Kossars do have 80, but the Kossars with spears are only 15, and the Kislev Warriors are only 30. They're basically just wearing leather, right? So that's going to be pretty effective, but it looks like Tim wants to grind out some value before he moves in, and this is kind of his playstyle anyways. He really likes to kind of sit back, and man, oh man, Scab's Graith going down, going deep in there. That was a Scab's Graith. Yeah, I don't think that was a Wind of Death. Yeah, brutal spell. I think he did both of them at the same time, and it did a lot of damage. But yeah, talk about Value City. That's definitely one of the better items in the game. But the shooting of Kislev is going pretty hard in the vampires here. wearing down a fair amount of the chaff units, so zombies and skeletons are getting worn, but is it worth it? On the other side, we do see Tim making a little bit of a play for this objective, so the Kislev Warriors have moved up, but it looks like there was a Hawks of Miska here. There must have been, because these guys took some damage, and yeah, the zombies are also quite low. So it looks like a Hawks of Miska, bit of a tongue twister there. Did nail into the Hex Race, and the Kislev Halberds are such giga chads. Those guys are able to hold, and now they're going to start getting through the zombies, and Tim is going to be trying to remedy the issue of only being on one objective. But the Vampire counts are moving up very aggressively. We see Black Knights coming in, and the Master Necromancer going to be cackling on the wings. Meanwhile, Tim the Wilder with an Alpha Strike on the other side, coming in with double cost fight Dervish, so he probably saved up the resources for a bit of a, a mass unit charge there. But Berserk, man, he's so on point with this. Calling into Hex Race. Hex Race will easily dispatch both those units, and it does buy the Vampire counts that objective. Now, looking elsewhere on the battlefield, Tim is going to be grabbing Objective 3 most likely. The Frostworm character doing work, and the Hawks of Miska going down once again, and that spell seems... yeah, it's some forbidden tech, perhaps. Definitely good at clearing out the chaff units. You can see Berserk does partially dodge it by pushing his skeletons through, getting away from the Vortex there, and is now harrying down these Kossars here. But as far as this point goes, Kislev does have an iron grip on it, right? You have the double Kislev Warrior, the Archers, and the Frostworm characters. So it looks like Tim is going to be playing very defensively in the center of the battlefield, meanwhile just kind of cautiously pushing out here. And Berserk, of course, knows what he needs to do to win. He needs to stuff his opponent back and try and keep the value as close as possible and not let his opponent get a massive lead here. So we do see the Hex Race as well as the Black Knights diving into the backfield of Kislev here, and there are going to be some doggies, and they do break that pursuit right there, which is quite good. Now, of course, the Dire Pack is going to get massacred here in a 3v1, especially with the things in the woods coming out of the woods, as you would expect. But at the end of the day, it's really nice because it locks down all three of these units and allows the Hex Race and other spooky units to get into the backfield, take out these armored Kossars, and really, cause quite a bit of distraction there. Now, another unit of Hex Race coming in. Master Necromancer probably looking to get an invocation on them. It looks like the Horsemen are going to be trying to chase down the Horse Archers and just, kind of harry them to the edge of the battlefield here. In the meantime, the Hex Race and Scary Boys doing some very good work in breaking down the armored Kossars. And is that going to be an invo? It looks like there was some witchcraft afoot, but I don't think it was an invo. And Master Necromancer does take a little bit of overcast damage. White King's in good shape. Now, what are the call-ins going to be for both players? Okay, we have Hex Race for the Vampire counts. And for Tim on the other side, it's going to be more Dervishes just looking to kind of band-aid some of the very precarious positions in his army. So in the backfield, Spears do eventually catch the Kossars with Spears who are in guard mode. They probably should just kind of focus their efforts here, maybe get a rear charge, crumble those guys down. But Kislev, for the most part, very stable on this objective, but struggling to push the Vampire counts off of Objective 2. Scab Scrapes have been very nice, and yeah, the Ghost units, like we saw that tournament game with Scrambled Lake Special playing Vampire counts in the SFT and having a lot of success using the Ghost units, so maybe they're back in business. The day of Graveguard has passed. It is time for the Cairn Race and the Hex Race. Granted, we haven't seen Cairn Race in this game. It's mostly been the big scary cav, which makes sense, right? Because Kislev is a faction that has some of the most busted cav in the game. Not only are their light cav super good, but the Winged Lancers, Griffin Legion, whatever, they're like top tier. So having a cav unit that's similar in price range, a little bit more expensive, that can dominate those units or trade very well into them with armor piercing and phys res, seems like a pretty good tech against old Kislev here. But the Hawks of Miska does do some decent damage to the vampires, gets them discouraged but not quite crumbling, and now it looks like the Ice Witch is going to be trying to do some battle with the White Kings, which I think is a risky one. It is an anti-large fighter as far as we saw, so it's not going to be super good against them, and I would imagine that Tim is going to be trying to get out of this situation, running away and rerouting it somewhere else. Maybe go after the Corpse Carts or something. I don't know. Maybe you probably couldn't, honestly, with the Crypt Chores nearby. They'd probably be able to pin that thing down and the White Kings would come over and cause some havoc. But Tim is pulling ahead pretty heavily on value at this point. Looking around here, we do see the Kislevites starting to really just outgrind the Vampire counts. And, the Vampire counts can't really bring a Mortis Engine to this matchup. The hybrid shooting of Kislev is too good. So you're going to have a really bad time. And on top of that, there's an Ice Witch here who could probably chase down and, cause a bit of havoc on the Mortis Engine. So for Berserk at this point, probably his best bet is going to be trying to play an objective win, making sure he doesn't get back capped here. He does have some Crypt Ghouls, so get it to a situation where it is a triple cap situation. And Kislevites, have to swarm on Objective 1 over here, for example. And then when they do that, you can maybe try a little sneaky Crypt Ghoul action to Ninja Objective 3. So plenty of tactics available to Berserk. He is down about 1,800 value. But remember, Gaze into Gash did not do that much damage. It looks like it might have got caught on something with a lot of mass, but yeah, that one didn't really connect right there. So Berserk is going to be trying to use his Black Knights and the remnants of his Houndos to hold on to the point, but I think that Tim is going to have enough time to probably get the momentum, although those two White Kings are going to be very difficult to remove. We have seen a fair amount of invos. I think there's been at least 2 or 3 this game that we've seen, maybe one overcasted one, so that is going to be factored into the true gold value that does exist here in the battlefield. The Hawks of Miska, once again, crumbling the leadership of the undead. Skeleton's going to be sent to -37, so that's a ton of extra damage that's going to be taken there. And Tim is reforming his archer line, so the Kislevites are forming up ranks, getting a lot of bowfire in there, and we're going to see if the SEs, the Vampire Counts, the Corpse Guards, and the White Kings are going to be able to hold firm. Master Necromancer just kind of cackling back here, doing evil Necromancer things. And he needs to hold for a lot longer to make this a triple cap situation. And what is he going to be calling in? Mostly chaff units, so we got the Konigstein Stalkers, Skeleton Spears, so yeah, mainly just kind of junk. It doesn't look like there's any Graveguard in this build, and would they have actually been good is the question. Maybe, you know, Stearnsman could have been good against this build. Kislev doesn't really have any, like, big anti-armor, although things in the woods would counter them pretty hard. So I suppose that makes it a little bit tricky, right? But we do see the White Kings back at the point. A couple Skeleton Spears going to be coming up. Vampire Counts are maintaining the capture weight here as the Armored Cossars and the Griffin Legion move in. But yeah, Kislev has so many extra units just laying around. When all this capture weight does arrive on that objective, I think the Vampires are just going to flip it. Probably going to even see Berserk tap out relatively soon if they do get it, right? I don't think he would play too much longer. On the other side, good play by Tim. He knows it's going to be potentially a triple cap, so he needs to start working on this point. So he gets the things in the woods, and as far as Vampire Count counters to these, I mean, really, maybe Blood Knights would be good against them. We do see Vargheists coming in. Vargheists potentially, because they can get that charge and really just do a lot of shock damage, but yeah, we're not seeing any Blood Knights in this build, mainly just Cairn Race, but cool to see them doing well. So this point's going to be taken by Kislev 100%. Armored Cossars moving in. You see the capture weight flipping very heavily. There's going to be another Hawks and Miska going down. What kind of value do we have on Ice Witch? Only 800. So it's not like a damage spell, but it does crumble leadership, which is damage that isn't tracked in that area, right? So yeah, right now, as it currently stands, we do see the big scary monsters coming in. The Vargheists are going to arrive. Griffin Legion going to be slamming down, and that's going to be a brutal amount of damage, just trampling those smelly little golems right there. And more Winged Lancers coming in. The mighty Polish cavalry have arrived, and here they are. So they are ready to go. And that is going to be the Herald of Doom for the Vampire Counts. GG, well played. Kislev still as strong as I remember, that's for sure. I don't even know how Vampire Counts could beat Kislev. I don't know, man. These are two of the best players in the entire world, of course. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean, I think Berserk could beat a lot of, you know, like top 16 players on Kislev with Vampire Counts. But if you have like two equally kind of skilled players in the same ballpark, how are you going to win that as Vampire Counts? I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Graveguard, but then how many things in the woods did Tim have? Yeah, he had 3. So he was ready for Graveguard spam, right? Yeah, it just seems so brutal. I mean, they literally grind better than you. Their damage output, their staying power, it's nuts. All right, guys, GG, well played. We'll be back with more replays from this series. This was a best of 3 series between these gentlemen, so I'll be casting all the replays. And yeah, there were some good ones for sure. GG, well played.